This is the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans by the fans, with Josh Taylor, Justin Smead, and Jason Eidsmoe. We're talking Padres, Chargers, and Aztec sports.
Gotta hit it to the right place. And he hits it out to center. Right center. Blackman's got a long way to go. He's still going.
Off the wall.
And it is off the wall. It takes a funny hop. Kemp is rounding second.
Go.
He's heading to third.
Gotta go.
And Matt Kemp into third base with a triple and the first cycle in the history of the San Diego Padres.
He will hand it off. Tomlinson plows his way towards the goal line. LaDainian Tomlinson, one step closer to football immortality. Tomlinson has tied the single-season record. And the handoff to Tomlinson. Left side, and he will gallop into the end zone. Charger fans are witnesses to history.
Pope thought about it. Now steps up. And the freshman hits the jumper at the buzzer.
Well, this kid is some prospect. Big time length, big time game.
Pope straight away three. Count it. Malik Pope. Pope off glass and good. On the other end, Joel doesn't miss that one. Shepard alley-oop to Pope. He got up there. Oh, wow.
It's time to let your voice be heard.
All right, it's Wednesday. It's 7 o'clock. That means, of course, it's time for the San Diego Sports Junkies. I'm Jason Eidsmoe, coming at you from the studio, along with Justin Smead via Skype, Josh Taylor, Mike Maciejewski from Aztec Hoops Nation, and, of course, Jake Hefner. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Fantastic.
Boy, so far so good. We got a lot of people in here and no problems. Now, before we get too much into the show, we need to address something here real quick. It is Justin Smead's 31st birthday.
Happy birthday!
Actually, yesterday was Justin Smead's 31st birthday, but we didn't have a show yesterday, so we had the show today. So this is birthday week. So
That's very nice.
I remember 31. It was a long time ago.
You're a man and you're 48.
That's exactly right. I'm a man and I'm 48. Happy birthday, Justin.
Happy birthday, man. I remember 31 too. That's like 5 years.
Oh, boy. Yeah, Macy Juski's a little old, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
5 years from now, buddy.
I don't know if it's your birthday anymore.
Yeah.
Get on Facebook. I had literally nobody tell me happy birthday yesterday because I'm not on Facebook. So funny. And I kind of felt sad, but then I felt kind of good because I didn't get all the crap. You know? That's I didn't get all the damn. I didn't have to reply to anybody. It was kind of cool. So,
that's good.
Best of both worlds.
You're sounding like a man much older than 31 when you say stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, dude, I can't tell you guys though. Seriously, 31 came quick, as we all know. Life goes quick, but having not had Facebook for I think going on 6-7 months.
That's impressive.
It's been great. That's like an accomplishment in itself. You should throw a party, but it's pretty cool because you don't have to see everybody's bull crap. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Well, the Chargers, they improved to 5-6 with a 21-13 victory over the Texans. We have actually a lot of things happen in the game, of course. If you ask Mike, Philip Rivers had a horrible game because he did throw an interception, so that means that they should get rid of him and draft somebody new. But I thought Rivers had a pretty good game, and we'll kind of go through what we thought of individual players and kind of break certain things down. But, my first impression is as exciting as it was and as great as it was to get a victory. And like I said, we only get 16 of these precious things a year, so I love it when they win. Texans suck, man. I don't think the Texans are that good. And I think that's the reason why we won. I don't think we won because we're that great. I think we won because the Texans suck. Thoughts on that, Justin? Do you agree, or am I not giving them enough credit?
Well, I mean, you're giving them credit. You're not giving them credit, but I think other people give them credit because of their record and the division they play in. Their defense has played pretty decently this year. They've been okay. That's why they got to the mark they have. But
their defense played good. We only scored 21 against them.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying I think when people look at the Houston Texans, you're not frightened by them by any stretch of the imagination. I think Brock Osweiler doesn't, scare you too much. He doesn't scare me, and it was evident in some of the plays he made on Sunday. And I was excited to see the Charger defense capitalize.
Yeah, Jake, do you think that that the victory was because the Chargers were that good, or do you think it was that the Texans are that bad?
I think there was a combination of things. Brock Osweiler is strictly just a pocket passer, can be rattled very easily, and the Chargers had a plan for how they were planning on putting pressure on him from the get-go. But, I thought players like Damian Square coming back, Denzel Perryman, Jaleel Adai, all three of those guys made a big impact in the game. And we were talking about that being the focal point on the pregame show on Sunday. And every single one of them stepped up, and I think that they added something to the defense with their returns. So I think there was a combination of things. It seemed like everybody that we were ripping into and criticizing last week and on Sunday actually ended up performing really well. So it was kind of strange.
I was going to get to that. I want to talk about the offensive line because I was pretty harsh on them in the pregame show. Josh, quickly overview of the game. Do you think that the Chargers beat a good team, or do you think a bad team beat a worse team?
Well, in a roundabout way, Jason, and one of the ESPN announcers said it the other day. The Chargers would be probably in first place in a lot of divisions in this league, but we are in the AFC West, which is one of the toughest divisions in the NFL. I mean, from top to bottom, every team in our division, I hate to admit the Raiders are good, but their Raiders are good. KC is good. Denver is good. And the Chargers have a tough division. If you put the Chargers in the Texans division, I think the Chargers are in first place.
Because the Texans are in first place, and Texans are terrible.
Right. Well, and they're in first place, and that's my point. Is that I think the Chargers are a good team. They play in a tough division, which has made it difficult along the way. You put them in a different division, and maybe it's a different story, even with the injuries they've gone through.
Mikey, Chargers against the Texans. Did a bad team beat a worse team, or do you think I'm not giving the Chargers enough credit?
I think we were wrong going to the pregame show. And I like something Jake pointed out. He mentioned about Brock Osweiler being a pocket passer and how the Chargers, really plan to disrupt. They had a good plan together. So, bravo Pagano. We give him a lot of crap. So, bravo to the coaching staff for having a good game plan there, especially on defense, to hold the Houston Texans the way they did.
I love the game plan. The game plan was
blitz Joey Bosa.
Yeah, well, let's not let them run all over us. We've lost Mebane. Damian Square is in there, who played a solid game. Let's give him a lot of credit, like Jake mentioned. He really did play a solid game. But basically, let's sit back and let's load the box. Let's not let them run, and let's make Brock Osweiler beat us, because nobody's afraid of Brock Osweiler. And it was successful. The Chargers won 21-13. It didn't really feel even that close, even though, like at the end, our special teams tried to let us down like they've done all season long. But ultimately, it didn't even feel that close. Couple standouts offensively. The Dontrell Inman has been such an enigma to me. I've been so disappointed with him. And then he'll come out and he'll just have a game like that where you go, that's why he's on the team. But are we going to get any consistency out of him, Justin, or is this going to be it? He's going to be a no-show, and then he's going to come up big.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm one of those guys, it's always been prove it to us, right? Prove it to me. You can do it consistently. It sucks because he's normally a fifth wide receiver, and these guys are being thrusted in that position. But it looks like Phillip is trusting him the most out of the receiving core right now. Whenever you need he made some huge plays for us in that game. The one that stands out is a third and long. I think it was 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, and he made an absolutely great catch, stretched across, got the first down to keep the drive going. Plays like that, man, are gonna just build better rapport with him and Phillip. But they've seemed like they've been pretty intact all year. But like you mentioned, it's been inconsistent, and not every game you see it. But having to do it with just minimal wide receivers right now, I like what I'm seeing. But yes, I think going forward you need to see more consistency.
Yeah, Jake, I've kind of complained about Inman, for about a year now about his inconsistency and whether or not, I remember in preseason I was not even sure if he was going to make the team until Stevie Johnson got hurt. Do you think that this is a sign of something to come, or are we going to just kind of see this 1 week really good and 1 week no show from Inman?
We'd hope so. I mean, you need to get some type of consistency out of, the wide receivers that you have. Like we had talked about, Phillip Rivers is doing the best with what he's got out there right now. And, Travis Benjamin was basically an afterthought. I think he only had one targeted pass, not one reception. Yeah. And it was the Dontrell Inman and Tyrell Williams show. And it's nice when Justin said the one word that we've been talking about so much with Phillip Rivers and these wide receivers is you build trust, you build rapport. And the more that you keep doing that from a wide receiver standpoint, the more that Phillip Rivers is going to target you, throw you the ball, give you every opportunity to go out there and make a game. And that's exactly what Dontrell did. So you just got to hope that you start seeing some consistency, like a Keenan Allen type of consistency from game to game to game, where now all of a sudden this is going to be a threat that defenses have to watch out for. So time will tell. But, great job by him. Fantastic job by both him and Tyrell Williams. So hopefully we can start stringing together a couple of these games where they have performances just like that.
Jaleel Addae, first game back, Mikey. Did he make do you think that he made a big impact? I know we didn't see any, interceptions or anything like that, but was his presence felt there in the secondary?
I don't know, but I'd like to touch upon him really quick.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, well, according to Jake, thank goodness that Phillip Rivers was throwing those passes to Inman. That was huge. So I'll give Phillip Rivers credit.
It's going to be one of those days.
Yeah,
Give me a time, gentlemen. That was how many minutes into the podcast that Mike says?
11 minutes, 59 seconds.
It's about 3 minutes after Jake went after me, so it's cool. But back to Addae.
Sleeves are getting rolled up, baby.
Oh my God, we're gonna have a fight.
Back to Addae. He played solid. I thought he played well. He didn't do anything spectacular. I really heard his name called very few times, and when I did, it was making a tackle or getting into a play. Against a team like the Texans, you don't have to be spectacular. You just can't make mistakes, and I think he did that.
Yeah, I actually think his overall presence in the secondary made a difference. I wasn't quite sure. I've kind of been a little bit hard on Addae about the way he plays and the mistakes that he makes, but I have to think that his presence back there made a difference. Now, of course, I say that, but once again, the Texans are terrible. Maybe when we play a better team, we'll kind of get a better idea. Josh, you were kind of giving the thumbs up when I started talking about Addae.
You mean Mike McCoy? Go ahead, Mike McCoy. With your visor.
Yeah, there we go.
Here's the visor.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the audience can't see Josh Taylor. He's put on his Mike McCoy visor that he doesn't need to wear indoors or outdoors, for that matter.
The fact that you bring up Mike McCoy right now, I was going to save it till we got through the game. But Darren in the chat room, who's joined us in the chat room. By the way, once Mikey and Jake started going at it, Hal jumped in the chat room too. It's like he can smell conflict, and he loves it. So Darren jumped in the chat room, and he says, first of all, I opened up the chat room by saying, do you think the Chargers can win out? And he says, of course they can. I'd like to say that they can, but I don't believe that they can, to be honest with you. Not with the talent that's left on the roster. I just don't think that they have enough talent left. Unfortunately, I'd love to see them, and I hope they do. But here's the next thing that he says.
What do you mean? Practice squad guys don't impress you?
Exactly. That's the problem. There. But here's one of the things that Darren said that I completely agree with. And he says, I think all the coaching staff needs extensions, especially Pagano. Look what they've done with so many key injuries. It's not a popular opinion, but he thinks that they should be locked up. Their contracts should be locked up. I actually agree with that. I have been less than impressed with the special teams this year. Now, maybe that's because, instead of third stringers playing special teams, we have fifth stringer playing special teams. Maybe that's the problem. But But Pagano and McCoy, I think, have done an outstanding job, to be honest with you, with the players that are left. And I'll start with you, Justin. I know that's not popular because everybody always wants to fire McCoy. I kind of gotten a little bit of we had family over for Thanksgiving. You can't talk politics anymore, so we talked football. And and he's saying, oh, they need to get rid of McCoy. And I said, that's the same thing you were saying against for Norv Turner. I mean, where does it end? You just going to keep getting rid of coaches? I think McCoy needs to be extended. I think he's done a really, really good job with the players that we have left. Should he be extended, or should this be his last season, Justin?
Well, neither for me yet. For me, my opinion, I need to see how this season shakes out. I get what he's been doing, and I think 4 out of the last 5 we've won, which is fantastic. But Mike McCoy has made some really boneheaded decisions in games. Time management's been terrible this year. I don't like a lot of things with Mike McCoy. I know he has been dealt a bad hand like two seasons in a row here with injuries, considerable injuries. I get that, but I want to see how this thing shakes out. I want to see them play for this coach. Pagano, on the other hand, if I'm going to touch on him, I love Pagano. I would love to see him get extended, and I would love to see that happen for the defense. I think they really respond to John Pagano and his philosophy on defense. So, and he's been doing a great job with his key injuries as well. So it's been mixed bag. But I'm a McCoy fan. I like the guy at heart.
Sure doesn't sound like it.
Well, I mean, I do. Though. I'm giving him a shot, but I mean, I want to see how he rides this thing out. I really do, because he's been given ample opportunity here in San Diego.
Josh, bring back the coaches, or do we need to start over next year?
No, I think we need to bring back the coaches. I don't know. The tough thing is, how far do you extend him? Is it a 1-year lease? Okay, hopefully our guys are healthy and we can see what you can do with this roster, and then we'll talk a long-term extension, or do you have to extend them for 3 or 4 years? He has gone through some tough times here with injuries. I mean, I hate to use that excuse because we're always using that excuse, but we've had 9 out of 11 weeks this year where we have put somebody on season-ending IR. I mean, that is incredible.
Yeah.
And for any coach to have to overcome those odds, it is challenging. And I don't think he needs to shoulder all the blame. I think there's some bad luck, obviously. Sure, he's made some poor decisions, but so has Phillip Rivers. So has other guys on the team. They've made some poor decisions too, and it's cost us some games. It's not all on Mike McCoy.
I've seen Bill Belichick make plenty of poor decisions, and he's a pretty good coach. I can't stand Bill Belichick. I hate him, but I can't tell you he's not a good coach, because he is. I've seen him make plenty of poor decisions too.
Yep.
I want to have Jake weigh in last on this, so we'll go Mike Maciejewski. Start over at the coaching staffs or extend them?
Definitely not extend them. Don't they have, I know McCoy has 1 more year, right?
Yeah,
No.
but you don't ever have your no. Is this no? He has 1
It's
more
year
year.
to year. Yeah, they extended him only 1 year, guys.
Because he got extended before his contract was up.
Right.
So he has 1 more.
I think he's got 1 more year, but you never let a coach in his last year. You always have to extend him.
You don't have to. I mean, he really hasn't done anything to deserve an extension right now, and you let him fight for his job.
Okay.
Exactly.
I think Pagano should go, only because he's been here a while, and I feel like there hasn't. I mean, part of it's the players. So we had good players. The defense looked better, but I really, since he's taken over as coordinator, I haven't really seen a really big improvement. I actually think that the defense has gone down, but again, that's probably just because we never addressed our defensive line like someone.
We did address it, and it was good until they all started getting hurt.
I mean, until this year though. This year. Yeah. So, but that's all. I mean, I'd like to see someone new, maybe someone different, someone with new ideas. Actually, I'm a progressive guy, and I like more coaches that go for it. So I like to see some younger coaches in here with new ideas. Something that's not the same old, which is why I don't like McCoy, because it's just a lot of the same old ancient philosophies that you see in football that just keep getting repeated.
Well, I completely disagree with you, Mikey, but that's no different than any other time, I guess. Jake.
No, exactly.
Jake, bring them all back or start over next year.
This will be one of the few times that me and Evil Mike actually are on the same page.
No,
Jake!
Evil
Welcome to the
Mike.
dark side. With that one.
There's such a big gray area with Mike McCoy. On one hand, it's you really measure it by how many years do you have left with your quarterback, and with Phillip Rivers then talking about hypothetically having to adjust to a new coach and how they bring forth an offense, even though most of what he's progressed with this year has been mostly Ken Whisenhunt. But then you look at, the wins and loss records, and that's huge. For me, a lot of it, if you were just to take this year in a nutshell, it's been how the Chargers have come out in the second half of games, because out of 11 games when they've gone into, I believe it's 8 or 9 that they've gone into the lead with a halftime or a tie, they've ended up losing 8 or 9 of those games. And that's just a horrible stat that you can't be a second half football team. You wonder what's being said in the locker room. What are your preparations? What are your adjustments? And that's huge. And that is absolutely huge to me. And, Mikey said it best, it's not like he's had a couple years here, to still try and adequate talent. He's had 4 years here. I mean, look at what John Fox went through in Denver. He had 4 solid years where he had winning records every season, took him to the Super Bowl, ultimately lost, but was fired. And then you look at other coaches like Marvin Lewis in Cincinnati, who's been the coach of that team for almost a decade. I mean, what really measures how coaches should be kept? So there really is a huge gray area to me. If I was to lean towards it, I think that these last, I know we said it earlier when the Chargers had a terrible record that Mike McCoy was coaching for literally every week of his career, for his job security. And I think that that's still the same as it stands right now. Literally every week, as far as how the Chargers will ultimately finish up the 2016 season, in my opinion, should determine whether or not he stays or he goes.
Go ahead,
and
Justin.
let's look at it this way. I mean, if we lose next weekend, it's going to be fire McCoy, fire him now. I mean, each week is, like he said, week is different. The fan base they're rabid animals. That's how it works in this business. And he's been given a lot of opportunity to change this team. And I get the injuries, but every team deals with injuries more so than others. Ask the Chargers. But I agree. I think I'd like to give him a shot. Just looking at the rest of the season as a whole, I wouldn't want to fire him right now at this point, because what's the point? But I want to see what he does the rest of this year. But it won't change my opinion on him. I still think we probably should need a new leader at the helm.
Real quickly, Trevor Bolt, Chris Hunter, Las Vegas Chargers. I think that's also Trevor Bolt. Have all joined us in the chat room, so I want to thank them for joining. And there's a few things that have been brought up in there. I'm gonna try and remember everything. One of them was somebody said that we should hire John Gruden, which just to me is a pipe dream. I don't think that he's interested in coming back. I think that everybody keeps recycling these same names, but John Gruden's not going to come back and coach, especially come to a team that he's not even sure if they're going to be staying in the same city or not. That's another thing. Everybody wants to get rid of McCoy. No big name coach is going to want to come here with all of this stuff up in the air, I think. I just think that it'd be tough to bring somebody else in anyways. It doesn't matter because I don't want him to. I like McCoy. Another thing is Tyrell.
What do you like about him?
I think he's a good offensive coach. I think that he's I think that it's real easy to be a hater. I could go against any team and point out.
I just wanted to know what you do like about him, because I know you do like him, but what are the things you like about him?
I like the fact that he's not swayed by everybody I don't think that team should go for it every time on fourth down. I like the fact that he's not the type of coach that people expect to see like when they're playing Madden football. I like conservative style coaches. That's what I personally like. I like his demeanor, to be honest with you. I like when people ask him questions and he's doing the press conferences and he gives bland, lame answers. I like that.
You're a Bill Belichick kind of guy, aren't you?
And I hate Bill Belichick. I think he's a piece of shit. But I'll tell you what, if he was a coach in San Diego, I'd probably love him.
Oh, you would love him because he wins you titles.
Well, I don't know. He'd have to drink the water here, and we know how that affects everybody.
Sure.
Tyrell Williams has the torn labrum. We've heard that he actually played through something like that when he was a senior in college. He's going to be playing through that for the rest of the year, which sucks because he's been a bright spot on this team. But I have to think that it's going to affect him for the rest of the year. Justin, are you worried that we're not going to be able to, he's not going to be giving us what he's given us, so far this year, and we have yet another drop off at the wide receiver spot?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how could you think anything else? I don't know what to say, guys. I mean, it's every week, and it's Tauchu's out for the year now, which he wasn't really making a big impact anyway.
I have a feeling he was fighting that foot injury all year. It's been a totally lost season for Tauchu.
Sure, it was a bad year for him, and hopefully he can scrap this year and then put that behind him. But no, it's something we have come to expect all year long. Who's going to go down this week? That's why we do our segment on the pregame show.
Yep.
Who's lost for the year, and I don't think anybody had Tyrell Williams last week, but I just, it's a bummer, especially because you're seeing Tyrell and Dontrell Inman step up in a big way for Phillip. And they've been two guys he can rely on, and that's it just sucks, man. I mean, what are you supposed to do? He's going to play through this, and he's not going to be 100%, so it's definitely going to hamper him a little bit.
I agree with you. Mikey, Antonio Gates, 0 catches, 0 targets. Surprising, I think, but I think that the Texans made a huge mistake, and basically the way they played against us was, we're going to try and stop your run, and we're not going to let Antonio Gates beat us. Fortunately for us, maybe they haven't seen this season and seen that Antonio Gates isn't the same as he was a few years ago, and they wasted a lot of energy stopping somebody that really hasn't been very dominant this year. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you said it best. I mean, Antonio Gates, it was not surprising that he got shut out because the way he's been declining every game this season, it seems, it's been trending that way. But surprising that the Texans would, make him a focal point of the
hashtag focal point
of the offense. So, and stopping him. So it was obviously it's Gates is on his last leg, or he was on his last leg, at the beginning of the year, and it's time. I don't know. It's over. It's sad. It's over, but it's over for him.
Hey, I tell you what. I as much as I think this is Gates' last year, he probably was one of the main reasons why we won last week with 0 catches and 0 targets, because he drew so much attention. That's fine. If the other teams want to do that with me, that's fine. Jake, do you think that that Gates' 0 targets, 0 catches actually was a positive for our offense?
Well, I mean, we've talked about it since Gates has been in the league. I mean, if you're, if you go in defensive planning to put one man in single coverage against Gates, then you're just a flat out fool and shouldn't be a defensive coordinator in this league. But I mean, we don't know. We don't have the game film, unfortunately, to go back and look exactly what type of coverages they were showing towards him. But yeah, I'm sure it definitely made an impact. And you saw the result of that when hashtag focal point Hunter Henry, caught a down in the end zone. So I mean, I think that was a key play in which drew that touchdown up. So I don't think there's any denying that even when he has, zeros across the board, that he can still be an impact player out there.
Yeah, I still think that he could be an impact player, and I love the fact that the Texans thought he was so much better than he was, to be honest with you. That to me that helped us win the game. Josh, for you specifically, I made the title of the show, Chargers games are all now must-win games.
Damn right they are.
I know how you love to throw that must-win around like it's nothing.
There's 16 must-wins in this season.
I know. But I think that
that is just so wrong. That is just so wrong.
But I do think that the rest of the games are must-win. Unfortunately, I do not think that they can win out. I don't think that they have enough talent left on the roster from all the guys that are out each week. It seems you talked about they've had 9 weeks where they've had to put a guy on season-ending IR, and a couple of those were middle of the roster or bottom of the roster guys. But almost every single week it's been a starter. I mean, a contributing huge guy. Brandon Mebane, by the way, got his surgery, and he's his surgery was successful. He's coming back now, next year. But do you think there's enough talent on this roster, left on this roster, to win all these must-win games?
I think we have a chance, but things have to bounce our way. I don't think it's just talent alone. I think there needs to be some flips of the coin that go our way. There needs to be some turnovers that happen during the game that put us in a position to win. We can't face any more animosity. I mean, we got to have some stuff bounce our way, and if it doesn't, then yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be challenging to win out. Now, historically, Phillip Rivers has been one of the best quarterbacks in December, and I don't know about you boys, but the page turns tomorrow to December, so we'll see. Can Phillip Rivers continue to ride that high statistic of being a winning quarterback in December and put us in a position to at least make it exciting?
I hope you're right, and I really want to see that. Like I said, we talked pregame. I know that some people are thinking maybe it's time to lose a couple games and get a better draft pick. I'm always wanting to win. I don't care where we are in the draft. I always want to win. I'm selfish that way, and I want to win every Sunday. I just don't know if they can. The O-line this game, we made a big deal about how Jadeveon Clowney was going to have 8 sacks and really, really school these guys. As a matter of fact, I'm going back through my notes right now. My player of the game, I had Joe Barksdale as my predicted player of the game because I said he would only allow 1 sack and only have 2 false starts. I don't know if he allowed any sacks, to be honest with you. I saw one where there was some weird stunt where I don't know if it was Dunlap or Barksdale who ended up kind of giving it up, but it was one of those tricky things that ended up happening. I thought the O-line played outstanding, and part of that was because they were trying to stop the run. Part of that was because our wide receivers did finally step up, but part of that was the offensive line just played better. Jake, do you agree, or do you think that maybe that was a bit of a mirage, what our offensive line did?
There's a 99 that the Chargers have on their team named Joey Bosa, but however, there was not a 99 named J.J. Watt who was on the Houston Texans side of the defense. Right. And personally, honestly, I think that's part of the mirage. I mean, yeah, that's fantastic that the offensive line can hold up the way that they did. And yes, Joe Barksdale did give up that. He was the one that I know what play you're talking about. Okay. He did 1 sack. But
it's kind of a stunt, though. It kind of almost wasn't. I mean, it was his fault, but it wasn't like the normal, obvious, terrible Joe Barksdale play.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the conventional, get your ass beat off the line or
right.
Get you into a false start, do some penalties. I mean, what have you? But
right.
I mean, yeah, the offensive line performed admirably, and that's great. Considering that it's not the same type of defense that it normally is when J.J. Watt's in there. So I'll give credit where credit's due this week. I'm the biggest critique of the offensive line.
Yeah.
But hey, let's see what you can do for the next 5 weeks.
Yeah. Exactly. Consistency, fellows. Mikey, I hear somebody's heart beating, I think. That must be Josh. Mikey, what were your thoughts on the offensive line? Is it mostly the fact that J.J. Watt wasn't there, or were you impressed with the way they played?
I mean, I was impressed with the way they played because they played horrible, and J.J. Watt didn't play in those games either.
Yeah. Good call.
So it was impressive. I mean, considering how they played before. Again, I wasn't kidding that I really thought you would see Jadeveon Clowney in the backfield every single play.
Yeah.
I wasn't being, joking around or being, using hyperbole there. I was being dead honest. And so it was good to see them play well, and they did a lot better. So obviously we'll see how it goes from here. But, I mean, for that game, positive sign.
Yeah. We'll take the one game, Justin, offensive line, played better or one game? You think it's just going to be a one-game thing?
Well, yeah, week to week. I mean, we'll see how maybe the matchups dictated that this week. Maybe, and Melvin Gordon got going early as far as running hard, getting a few chunk plays here and there. I don't mean like 30-yard gains. I mean, here's 6, here's 7.
Right.
They did a good job of getting him going a little bit early. I like the way they mixed up the play calling. And I think that had a little to do with it too. It helped the pass rush sustain that a little bit, and Phillip had a little more time to throw. It's nice.
I like seeing Phillip under center a little bit more, even when he's passing the ball. I think it makes them guess a little bit more whether we can run or pass. Josh, Hal called you. Hal's in the chat room. He called you the same thing I called you last week. I'm not going to repeat it because it was mean. It had something to do with a cactus, though. But anyway, offensive line. Is this a 1 week reprieve, or do you think that we can see this for the rest of the season?
The offensive line's an anomaly. Week in and week out, you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they play well together. They show up, they do what they need to do, and the offense as a whole is successful because of it. But when our two left and right tackles, get taken over and impostered, and somebody else dresses in their position, and they get dominated, then Phillip Rivers can't do what he's got to do. Bottom line, Phillip Rivers is our offense. If we can't keep him upright and give him time to tear apart the defense, then the whole thing's going to collapse.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'm
hashtag cactus.
Cactus porn. I'm hoping that what we saw is a preview of things to come. I'm not sure though. I just haven't seen any consistency, especially with these tackles. Like I said, if you listen to the pregame show, I was pretty rough on the offensive tackles, and they just have not shown up this season. And I'm not sure if this was just a 1 week thing or not. But I'm just hoping that what we saw this week, maybe they started to figure it out. Jadeveon Clowney is a very, very good pass rusher, and they pretty much stoned him. So that was really, really good to see. Hunter Henry, Jake did mention Hunter Henry. I was happy to see him, maybe get worked back into the mix a little bit. I think that they could still utilize him a little bit more. I know he's coming off the ankle injury. I think he even had was he in concussion protocol earlier this year? Does anybody remember?
No, I think you're just getting confused with the other 17 guys.
Which person are you talking about?
Hunter Henry.
Track of.
Was Hunter Henry in concussion protocol at all, Jake?
I believe, yeah. Actually, he was. I couldn't remember after which game it was, but he came right out of it because he didn't miss any time due to a concussion. So, I can't remember what week it was that he had suffered. I think it was after actually I take it back. I think it was before the second Denver game is when he had suffered it last. But yeah, other than that, he's just been fighting the knee injury that he's been battling the last couple of weeks. And but hey, for the focal point of the offense, you can't take away anything. Still a red zone target, so
yes.
That's where he's done most of his damage thus far, and still recovering from the knee injury that's unfortunately keeping him from being the focal point of the offense between the 20s. Hopefully it just keeps getting better.
Yeah, and I think that he can be, I know we keep using hashtag focal point. I think he can be that, though. I think that he can actually be a bigger part of this offense, and I'm just wondering if maybe that knee is holding him back just a touch. We've seen it earlier this year. He is an incredible weapon, even though he did drop his second pass of the year, which was amazing to me because I thought the guy never dropped anything. He did drop his second pass of the year, though. But I think that moving forward, that's going to be one of the keys is Hunter Henry becoming a larger part of this offense. Justin, you agree? You think that he can be even more this year? I know in the coming years we're always going to see him improving. We're going to see him getting better, but I think we can get a lot more out of him this year.
Yeah, no, I do too. I think he's gonna be fine. I think you're just worrying. Stop worrying. No, I really do think these last 6 games. I think it is this stretch is gonna be real important for him to establish himself. He's trying to finish up a really impressive rookie season that he's been a part of. I dig this kid. As you know, I pretty much vote him for player of the game like every week. So I hope to see him really get integrated in this offense. And with Gates' decline, that we've seen, or lack thereof, trust with Phillip. I don't think it's a lack of trust, but he just hasn't been going to him as much. Maybe it's the decoy thing or not. But I'd love to see Hunter get going here latter part of the season.
I got a question for everybody because I've been kind of harsh on Dwight Lowry this year. Dwight Lowry probably had the game of his Chargers career. He had the forced fumble, which was awesome. The way he got that ball out of there. He had the interception, which many people will complain that ball was thrown right to him. But if anybody's watched all the Charger games, we probably dropped 30 interceptions that have been thrown right to our guys. So he still had to catch that. But he also had 2 passes defensed, which pretty much puts him the best game of his Charger career. Is this coincidence, or is this possibly because Jaleel Addae was back there too, and at least he had somebody else back there with a little bit of experience? Mikey, coincidence, or did Jaleel Addae's presence help him play a little bit better?
Not sure. I mean, again, it's so hard. I feel like this one game, we were so looking the opposite way. We all predicted they were going to lose. So it's kind of like mind blowing to know like what happened. I mean,
yeah, what happened?
This is crazy.
It really is. No, it really is, because you don't know if it was like Joshua said, an anomaly, or if this really, there was something that changed the way this team played, because they looked a lot better. So I right now, honestly, guys, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, too early to tell.
Too early.
Yeah, thank you, Mikey.
I think by having Jaleel back there, I think it does that veteran presence. I think it does allow other parts of the defense to move around a little more freely, because they have trust that he's going to be back there to do what needs to be done in that safety position. So I think it did help Lowry a little bit by having Jaleel Addae back there, because of the fact that it allows him to be a little more comfortable.
One of the things that I remember about Eric Weddle back when I used to like him was there was a few games where we had quite a few injuries in the secondary, and we were all complaining about how terrible Eric Weddle was playing. And we kind of started to see when these guys started to come back how much better he started to play, almost like he was trying to do too much. I'm not comparing him to Eric Weddle when Eric Weddle was good and we all liked him. But is it possible that the fact that Addae was back there, it made him play a little bit better, Jake?
No.
No.
Good. Yeah, exactly.
I should have saved you for last, because you've been hating on him a lot longer than on Lowry a lot longer than I have.
Garbage.
Well, let's diagnose the 2 big plays that he made. Yes, okay, great play by him on the tackle, forcing the fumble that ultimately got the Chargers the turnover. But the interception, come on, man. Brock Osweiler thought that Dwight Lowry was his receiver and literally threw it right at him.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
There's not many people in the NFL that can screw that play up.
We've already seen it, though. We've already seen it quite a bit this year.
So I don't know how much credit you could. I mean, that's just one of those cases of being in the right place at the right time and making the most of the situation. So I think it was just a coincidence. Hats off to Dwight Lowry for getting the Chargers defense. 2 more turnovers in the game, definitely well needed. But let's not think too much into it. Yes.
Go, Mikey. What you got?
If Philip Rivers caught it, Jake would give him credit.
Oh my God, Justin, Dwight Lowry. Do you think Jaleel Addae made him better, or does he still suck?
Yeah, he sucks.
Okay.
He even showed up today with a club on his hand. Like, what is that? He got hurt because he had a good game? Get the fuck out. Like, what the hell is that shit?
Oh, my God.
Dude, he's gone after the season.
Hal's having a great time in the chat room right now, but he actually is a big fan of Addae. We found somebody that he likes. He says that Addae should be lining up as quarterback next week.
Hey, well then give him credit for the touchdowns that he throws, at least if Addae throws it.
Yes.
Like he doesn't like to give any credit to touchdowns, only interceptions.
I would gladly actually see Addae up there playing quarterback.
Yeah.
Smart move.
Justin, you touched on Gordon last week. I think he ended up with 70 yards possibly.
Uh-huh.
I know we've said this a lot. I don't know if I've ever seen a Charger running back run harder than this guy. I mean, we've had some good running backs. We've had some good players, but this guy runs hard. He runs really, really hard every single week. One of the questions I had is when holes aren't being opened, sometimes he tries to bounce it out a little bit too often, I think. But he did that a little bit at the beginning of the game, and then he just started going forward. And he's getting 2-3 yards every single play, which is not what we were getting last year. Last year he was getting stoned at the line for 0 yards, negative yards. I know that he's not getting 100-yard games every week, but it's really, really hard to be upset with what this guy's doing out there, right?
Yeah, no, and that's what I was trying to allude to earlier. They're not big gaping runs, but you'd get the 3 yards here, you'd get the 4 yards here. You're kind of just nitpicking the defense a little bit, but it keeps them honest, right? And that's your job. Last year, like you alluded to, it was behind the line of scrimmage, getting blasted for 2-yard loss. Play wouldn't even develop. So yeah, it's good that the defense can worry about the run a little bit, just a little. And have Phillip be able to sit back there for an extra second because they're not loading the box. It was nice to see, but he's a key part of this offense. And you were touching on, have you seen a guy run that hard? I mean, I have in a Chargers uni. I've seen some guys, but not like this guy. He's just built differently. His extra effort and his youthful exuberance makes him stand out differently to me because he wants every inch, because he wants to be great. He knows he can be great. So I like the effort a lot. I really do. We'll
bring into this conversation Las Vegas Chargers in the chat room says, am I the only one who thinks Gordon's a little overrated? And I actually disagree with Las Vegas Chargers. I don't think he's overrated at all. I think that he's not only is he playing so much better than he did last year, running very hard, but he's doing so much more on the field this year. He's out there on third downs. He's not just a 2-down back. He's a 3-down back. Mikey, is there any complaints about what Gordon's been doing this year from you?
No, he's underrated. He's underrated. He's doing amazing. He averaged more than 4 yards a carry last game. He did well. I mean, like I said, he runs this different style. And we all know. I mean, I don't know if we all agree, but I'm pretty sure all agree LT is the greatest Charging running back.
Right.
But he's not the same kind of runner.
No.
Right.
Same kind of running back. And Melvin Gordon has shown his toughness this year. I mean, he's come up big and he's been forced to expand his role. With all the injuries at running back, and he's done it well. He's done it very well. So, like I said, I feel like he's really kind of kept this offense together because he's had to do everything that Danny Woodhead did, and also continue running the ball, running it well. So I feel like he's been underrated. Actually, I think he's a star is being born this year.
Yeah, and let's not forget we didn't draft Melvin Gordon to be some. I mean, I don't remember him. I don't remember going, hey, that Wisconsin running back who's the Heisman candidate, he's a bruising running back.
Right.
But he's turned into that because of his physical nature, and then the NFL is just way different. The way you got to run collegiately and to the pros is just night and day. You can be the same type of back, but if you don't have the line to accommodate you, I just find it funny that now he's one of these tough running backs like a Derrick Henry is in Tennessee, like you alluded to. I think it's kind of funny. He can bust one for sure, but he's turned into a different style, different runner in the NFL.
Yeah, Las Vegas Chargers in the chat room says Ryan Matthews ran very hard. Jake, do you have any complaints about what we've seen from Gordon, and what's the difference between Gordon and Matthews' style of running?
Well, number one, I think Mikey and I now have a common enemy that we can go against, which is a good change of pace. So Mikey and I aren't ripping into each other's throats here on this segment, which is good. No, I mean, the biggest difference between Ryan Matthews and Melvin Gordon is simple. When Ryan Matthews gets tackled, he goes down into the ground. Look at the stats of Melvin Gordon when it comes to yards after contact.
The contact, right.
A lot of the runs that he has made this year have come after he is breaking tackles from other people. I mean,
good point.
Justin alluded to, when the holes open up along the offensive line, those are rare when when Melvin Gordon gets those opportunities. A lot of his runs he actually has to work for.
Right.
So, I mean, what more can you say about how good of an improvement in one season that it makes? I mean, to bounce back into just look like a completely different runner from year one to year two, and put up the stats that you've had and give a lot more balance to the offense. Definitely underrated, in my opinion.
Mikey, go.
Actually, it's funny. I was looking up stats on comparing the two running backs, and supposedly, Ryan Matthews is a heavier back than Melvin Gordon. But man, I'm looking at pictures of these guys side by side, and we're talking one guy has one guy has guns, one guy has BB.
Well, Gordon's a physical specimen though. Like he is absolutely yoked.
Exactly, and that's what I was gonna say. Is if you look at them physically, forget the weight.
I'd like to see their arm reach. Like I would literally like to see like if they did the like boxing
the
stats.
Wingspan.
Yeah, exactly. I just Melvin Gordon's put together, dude. Like physically gifted.
Any of you guys in the chat room, by the way, Hal's it looks like he's a big fan of Melvin Gordon, and while we're talking about Melvin Gordon, he found a way to take a shot at Philip Rivers, I think. You have to take a look in the chat room if you want to see that.
Maybe we should get Josh McCown quarterback.
Let's go ahead and talk about Philip Rivers for a second. He was 22 of 30, 242 yards, 3 touchdowns and 1 interception.
No. That's 0 touchdowns and 1 interception.
0 touchdowns and 1 interceptions, according to Mikey. The issue here is the 1 interception. It was a tipped ball by Tyrell, but it was a bad throw. Let's be honest with you. That wasn't on Tyrell Williams. That was on Philip Rivers. It was a bad throw. He's going to make a bad throw. That's going to happen.
Realist Rob there.
Yeah. I mean, it was a bad throw. Let's be honest with you. Has anybody else noticed, though? It seems like whenever the ball is thrown bad to Tyrell Williams, he makes sure he pops the ball 20 yards into the air.
Playing beach volleyball.
You have to take a shot at Tyrell. Yeah, geez. Poor guy's playing on a freaking bad knee.
And he's only got one arm left, too. He's got the...
And what's funny is he can't even run that fast because his knee's bad, and Rivers still threw it behind him. It's not like he outran the ball.
Well, Mikey, let's talk about Rivers for a second. 3 touchdowns and 1 interception, 22 of 30. You can't tell me that those are bad numbers. You can't tell me he looked bad. No,
of course not. And just so everybody knows that's listening, we're only saying this because after the first touchdown where Dontrell Inman was like 6 yards behind the last guy on defense, Jake's like, there's nothing wrong you can say about Rivers.
But he did take a huge shot in that play.
Yeah,
and
he had a guy in his face, too.
I don't know if you watched that play, Mikey.
Yeah.
He missed Pater there.
Yeah.
But he took a lick and threw the ball, and he didn't even know if the defender was going to be there or not. He bit on the move, and he was wide open. So credit Philip Rivers, Mr. Negative.
Yeah.
I'm gonna credit Dontrell Inman for getting behind the defense.
I'm gonna credit him because he caught the damn ball like he should.
Yeah, it was a
job.
And Philip Rivers threw it like he should.
That's his job. He gets paid to catch footballs, and it was right in his hands.
I'm sorry.
Touchdown
I didn't know Philip Rivers only got getting hit.
I'm sorry. I didn't know we complained about touchdowns on this show.
I know. I'm sorry. I forgot Aaron Rodgers.
6-7 instead of knock my quarterback.
I do remember it, and Jake mentioned it, Mikey, when you had stepped away. But as soon as Rivers threw the touchdown, you started messaging us. Like you had forgotten about as soon as he threw the interception, you start messaging everybody, like you had kind of forgotten he had thrown the touchdowns as well.
Again, it's just really that. I mean, Jake asked me. Jake challenged me to find something wrong with it, and I just.
It's the hate.
Don't need to applaud him for throwing a touchdown to a guy.
I'm just sitting back here eating my popcorn, man. It's just...
Are you
I got Terrell Owens with me, and
hey, man, you talk about my quarterback, man.
Are you a butter guy or not butter guy?
I mean, it was a good game. Again, I'm not gonna say it wasn't. Obviously, that would be just ridiculous. But
Kellen Clemens in, see how he does against the next 6 opponents.
Well, the reason he's there is to make sure Philip Rivers.
What's John David Booty doing these days? Let's bring John David Booty.
Let's trade for Matt Barkley since he had a decent game for Chicago last week.
So ultimately, let's try and bring this back here. Ultimately, next week, and we're going to talk about the next game more on Sunday, but we're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this Sunday. It's going to be a challenge, I think, to be honest with you, with this team. We had an easy game against an easy team, and I think that we beat a team that we should have beat. Tampa Bay is a different animal. Tampa Bay has a good quarterback.
Right.
We can't just try and stop the run and say, let's let this quarterback beat us, because he's going to beat us. Ultimately, if you want to make me more of a believer that they're going to win out the season, they have to come out and make a statement against Tampa Bay, and I'm not quite sure if they can. We'll talk about that more on Sunday, but go ahead.
But luckily, we have Dwight Lowry back there to help us out. Seriously, no, I'm excited because Dwight Lowry's in the lineup next week against Tampa Bay, so that'll be good.
Yeah, I agree, but
Dwight Lowry.
Jake, do you think that this upcoming game against Tampa Bay, do you think that this is a more of a test really against this team than the last game was, or do you think that we have bigger tests coming up after that?
Well, I mean, every game is going to be a test because you have to win out these last 5 weeks if you have any hope of even making the playoffs. But yes, this is definitely going to be a much more difficult test. And going up against Tampa Bay, a different type of quarterback that you have to prepare for. In my opinion, more of a well-balanced offense between running the ball and catching the ball with their wide receivers. And Mike Evans is no joke. And, what they could possibly do to exploit our cornerbacks. Obviously, we'll see what Casey Hayward can do when he's paired up against him. But defensively, their front seven has also been a kind of a under the radar, bright spot for this team. And a lot of people aren't talking about their front seven. And if they can put some pressure on Phillip Rivers and exploit our offensive line the way we know they can be exploited from a week-to-week basis, then yeah, this could be a long day in San Diego, especially with Tampa Bay playing for a lot, considering their record and the win streak they've been on as of late.
Mikey, are you still there, Mikey?
I'm here.
There he is.
So
He's making
research
food. He's making some dinner.
Any thoughts on the upcoming game being a little bit more of a test for this team? Do you think that, first of all, do you agree with me that the Texans really aren't that good of a team and weren't really that much of a test?
I agree with you, Jason. I always agree with you.
Liar.
On all matters except Phillip Rivers,
yes.
He agrees.
You're right about everything, Jason. Why would I not agree with you?
Why did Oakland struggle against him?
I have our notes from our pregame show. I can tell you about all the things I was wrong.
No, I was actually, I happened to, for some reason, catch local sports radio, and they had, I think, John Clayton was on, and he was talking about how this was a big test, and that this was not going to be like the Texans, and you have Mike Evans, and you have Jameis Winston, and you have Doug Martin, and you have a defense that held the Seahawks with a running quarterback who'd been playing very well to 5 points. So,
very impressive.
Very very well done, and the key is going to be early on in the game. If you saw that game, and John mentioned this on the radio, is that if you were on a first name basis, John and I, John mentioned it. John was saying that if you notice the game plan was score early and then keep the defense at bay, keep them from making you forcing you into errors, which we know that Joey Bosa can do single-handedly, so it's going to be really important early on for the Chargers to get some stops, because playing from behind is not going to benefit this team, because it's going to take away the run game, and that would be, I think, almost like a death sentence for this team going into this game.
I agree with everything you just said. We're in agreement. Like, apparently I agree with everything you say too, except when it comes to Phillip Rivers. Ultimately, if you want to hear us get more in depth, we are going to be doing our pregame show Sunday morning, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock right here, just like we do every Sunday, unless we're busy, and then we don't.
And then in that case, we say F up.
In that case, we don't. But all the other times we do. Other than that, I want to invite everybody out there to catch us every single Wednesday, 7 o'clock until whenever we're finished. We're talking Chargers, and I'm actually going to roll this into the Aztecs, which means we're going to probably be letting Jake go so he doesn't have to listen to me and Mikey fight in the next segment about how the Aztecs football team looked.
Sorry, dude. I just got my Mike and Ike's, man. I'm ready for round 2.
I thought he was going to break down the Aztecs defense for us.
You want to stay on for Aztecs, Jake?
No, I'm good, boys. Go have at it.
Well, for those of you listening, you can follow Jake on Twitter at Jake T. Hefner. You can also read read articles from him and the rest of the crew at boltbeat.com. Check him out. Tweet with him during the week. He's got some really interesting stuff to say. He'll answer your questions. It's a fun follow. And like I said, he responds to everybody who tweets at him. Jake, anything coming up for you guys at Bolt Beat, or just the normal great everyday content?
Usually just the norm, depending on how the week goes with the Chargers, whether it relates to injuries, just general news, wins and losses, what have you. But for myself, I'm actually trying to work on some new things right now that's outside of Bolt Beat. So still contributing there while trying to get some new stuff in the works. So we'll see what comes down the pipe here in the next couple of weeks.
Jake, keep working on that Philip Rivers biography.
You have no idea, man. You have no idea. I mentioned your name 375 times in it, actually, and it makes me great.
Do I get royalties for those or no?
Nice.
Yeah, you get.
You don't get royalties. You just get mentions. That's all. I'll put you in the acknowledgments at the end of the book. Don't worry.
Nice.
Oh boy.
Nice. Well, Jake, you keep us informed with anything that's coming up new. We like to pass it on. Not only that, we like to check out what you're doing. We appreciate you. Hopefully, you'll be available Sunday morning to do the pregame show, and we look forward to talking to you then, man.
Sounds good, gentlemen. Have a good rest of the show.
All right, thanks a lot, man. All right, I'm gonna fire up a quick commercial here. We're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about Aztecs. We're gonna talk about. I think we're going to be talking about mostly Aztecs football because of what we've been seeing, but we'll get some Aztecs basketball in there as well. We're going to be back in just a minute. On the other side, we'll be right back, guys.
The West Coast is back. Better respect the name. It's the San Diego Chargers.
Calling all podcasters. Have you ever wanted your voice to be heard? Do you need help expanding your audience? Are you curious just how far your show could reach? Well, look no further. We are New Media Radio Network, the premier podcast streaming network. Let us take your show to the next level. For more information, check out our website, www.newmediaradio.net.
Cali Comfort Barbecue in Spring Valley was built for West Coast Sunday morning football and fight night. Cali Comfort Barbecue has quickly become San Diego's slow smoke barbecue sports entertainment destination. Full service catering available for all your tailgating needs. CaliComfortSD.com.
Maybe you need business cards to help your business stand out. We at San Diego Sports Junkies got you covered. SK Digital Imaging can do it all. Give our buddy Sean Kay a call, 858-408-0732. SK Digital Imaging, from business cards to the bigger projects, SK Digital Imaging and our buddy Sean Kay will get your printing done right.
This ain't no fad or phase. This is Cali for life. We gon' rally tonight. So pump your fist till you get it right. And keep it real so all the day go can feel you buffing out. Sing the anthem so the whole world can hear you.
All right, we're back. We're going to be talking Aztecs for just a second. I want to bring up the fact that we're part of the New Media Radio Network. They are a 24-hour podcasting network based on the East Coast in Philadelphia. They run our podcast as well as lots of other podcasts. Check them out online, New Media Radio Network. Great group of guys, and there's a lot of really neat podcasts there. San Diego State Aztecs. Football team came out, played against Colorado State.
They came out.
Lost 63-31.
Jeez.
God-awful game. Absolutely god-awful game. I was at my brother's house. We were doing some Thanksgiving stuff. I have a brother-in-law who lives in Salt Lake City, so we were flipping back and forth between the Utah game and the San Diego State game, and everybody was just totally bummed out and depressed because both teams weren't playing very good. Mikey, did they just mail it in because the game really didn't mean anything?
No, I really think, there's some serious problems on the defense. The biggest thing is, I thought the secondary was going to be very, very strong this year. They've already lost Billy Vaughn Jr. They lost Derek Babish to suspensions. They lost Fred Meneflu. So those are really big players on on that defense, and stupidity has cost them, and now you're stuck with well, not stuck, but you're stuck. You're playing Ron. I got Ron Smith, I believe it is.
Yeah,
he was a true.
True freshman. I think he's a true freshman.
Starting, So if you see most of the teams are just picking on him.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So there's some serious holes there, and there's some serious issues that need to be addressed. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen this year. And I think everybody's talking about they're stacking the box against the Aztecs, but they've been doing that all year. For some reason, the Aztec line when Donald Pumphrey's in is not playing as well, because if you see when Penny comes or Washington comes in, they're doing a lot better. Something with Pumphrey's running style and the blocking has been figured out, I believe.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. I want to start with the defense.
Sorry.
They made a huge. We got a system here. We got things that we need to talk about in a certain order, Mikey, and you're screwing it up.
Sorry, man. Sorry.
I'll tell you what.
I guess not in the Ovaltine.
Yes.
Probably.
The defense. They were making such a big deal about how many minutes the defense was playing without giving up touchdowns and all this stuff, and that was even after Babbage was gone, and they were still playing good. Unfortunately, Justin and I were talking earlier, and our defense is only good against mediocre teams. I mean, they dominate mediocre teams, but if we had won some of those games and we got into a big bowl game against a big team, I'm sorry, there's no way that our defense can stop anybody good right now. They just can't, and we can say why, maybe because they've lost some guys, maybe they don't have the firepower that they had before, but the guys that they do have are just flat out not good enough, and they got absolutely rolled by Colorado State, and the defense looked horrible out there, and the only thing that we could hope for is we go to a bowl game that's a second or third tier bowl game against a team that's more on our level. Because if we go against a top tier team, we're going to get smoked again. Justin, what are your thoughts on the Aztec defense?
Well, don't worry about that, because we'll be right here in the Poinsettia Bowl, because that's fun for everybody. The Poinsettia Bowl. So, we talked about how the competition level. They steamroll bad teams, and I think they're caught somewhere in the middle, and they play teams that are worth a shit, and they don't show up. And they're somewhere in the middle. I think they're a mediocre football team right at this point. And like we keep alluding to,
they're at the top end of the mediocre football team.
Sure, they're the top rim of the mediocre football spectrum, but we allude to the injuries every year. Every sports team in this town, even the basketball team dealt with some early on in the year. So it's just mind blowing the season they've had, where expectations were sky high and got off to a great start, and things were looking fine, and the real tests came, and they didn't pass those tests, and they looked awful at times, awful.
Yeah,
and they showed glimpses of dominance. And now they're coming back down to earth, guys. They're coming back down to earth. And this game Saturday, and I hate to get off the last game, but this game Saturday will tell a lot about what the Aztecs have in their tank. It really will.
I'm really worried about it.
Sure.
Offensive side of the ball, Pumphrey. At the beginning of the season, he was being ignored basically nationwide for Heisman, which was very upsetting to me, and I still think that it was bogus. I think that the fact that he was being ignored was wrong. But he's also, I don't want to use the word exposed, because he's really, really good running back. But the problem is, first of all, he certainly isn't playing like he deserves a Heisman. I still think that he's probably worked his way out of even being mentioned, to be honest with you. But the problem is his running style. He needs big, giant holes. If he gets a big hole, he's going to do more than most people do with it. He just is. The problem is, in the NFL, you never get big holes like that. You don't. And that's why Penny and Washington, I believe, those are the guys that actually have better chances to do something in the NFL, because they can work with smaller holes. the offensive line, I don't think it's that the offensive line is not doing as good when he's in the game. I think that what's happening to them when other teams are loading the box, he's not getting those big holes anymore, and he's not able to take advantage of smaller holes like Penny and Washington are. But these teams know how to beat the Aztecs. You load the box, you overload the box, and you make Chapman beat you. Chapman ain't beating anybody. I'm sorry. Maybe he'll be better next year. Maybe he'll get better. But Chapman right now is not a good enough quarterback to beat anybody. Justin?
No, you just said it. That you just hit on everything. His
game
sucks,
by the way. It sucks.
Well, it does. It does. I get pissed too, dude, because all year long we thought this was going to be special. Anyway, Pumphrey next year, when he goes in the draft, his game doesn't translate well to the NFL. He's going to be another Ronnie Hillman to me, and I hate to say that. I think he's a great kid, and I think he's not an NFL running back. He's not. And
not an every
like
down back, unfortunately.
Unless he plays for the Dallas Cowboys with that line. I mean, there's no way. But, and you're right, Rashad Penny, that kind of back translates better for the Aztecs. So, yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's absolutely absurd.
And Rashad Penny has home run power. I mean, when I say home run power, I mean he could. But
Speed.
Pumphrey's better, has more of a home run. He's more of a home run hitter. But in the NFL, home run hitters aren't the ones that are successful. Mikey,
so was Melvin Gordon. He was a home run hitter, but he can't hit home runs in the NFL.
No.
It's not. You don't play the NFL like that. The NFL's different.
Mikey, you want to wait? We've said a lot. You haven't had a lot to say so far. What you agree, or am I off base with what I've said?
Well, I don't think your description of Pumphrey's running style is correct. I mean, he can hit the big hole and make a guy miss. That's his thing. But he's a small back. He can hit the small holes as well. The problem with Pumphrey is that he's so small that he can't break tackles in that scrum. You can get him you can slow him down with an arm. And so that's the problem where Penny and Washington even can get past that because they're built better.
They can run through those arm tackles.
Yeah, but I mean, if there's a small hole, he can find it. He's great at cutting those holes and identifying those holes. The last two games, he's literally, it's like almost he's trying to be a different back. He's putting his head down, not looking for those, and not making those cuts that he usually makes. So, I mean, definitely when it comes to NFL, I'm looking maybe at best 5th round pick.
Yeah.
And him, like Justin said, a Ronnie Hillman type with a higher ceiling. Because
definitely a higher ceiling, and he's got good hands too.
He's got good hands.
Yeah.
And he's got a great cutback that Ronnie Hillman wishes he had.
Yeah.
He has a great cut that he has. So yeah, it's not again. It's going to be interesting this week because this will tell us a lot, like you guys said earlier. And it's important to see this team bounce back because you guys are right. You guys said a lot of things. I think Jason said it. They'll get killed in against a really good team because Chapman's not ready, at all. And honestly, from what you've seen in Chapman, I mean, you got to think they're looking at a transfer right now to come in and play.
Yeah.
Because he's definitely not enough of a threat to keep teams honest.
No, and the thing is that running backs always seem to excel pretty good at San Diego State. But you have to have at least the threat of the throw, and Chapman doesn't give you that at all. If I was a defensive coordinator, I would put my wide receivers on an island, my cornerbacks on an island, and I would load that box and say, you're gonna, everybody stay in their lanes, watch the cutback, and don't let the running game beat you.
Yeah,
and that's what it looks like what the people are doing.
Yeah, no, and I just want to allude to, the quarterback thing for State's never been good. I mean, Ryan Lindley, yes.
I like Lindley, actually. I thought he was a good quarterback for them.
No, yes, that's what I mean. Besides Ryan Lindley, lately. Who?
Well,
yeah, before Ryan. Yeah, I know. No, there's been a few.
And
but I'm saying.
Before that, Damon Pierre?
No, Dan McGuire. Come on,
Dan
guys.
McGuire, yeah.
Let's go. I can go back and tell you. But I'm just saying.
We always get this once a show. Justin turns out on us and freezes up. There you go. He's back. He's back. He does it once a show.
I did it once. No, I was going to say, I think the reason running backs excel at State is because Rocky Long recruits giant offensive linemen, and they teach blocking schemes here very well. That's what they predicate their whole system on. So they like to run the football. That's obvious. But when you're recruiting 320-pound linemen, obviously in high school they're not going to be that big, but they're coming out and they know that they're going to get bigger. These kids are huge. They have massive offensive lines. So that's why we excel in that. And if you don't have the quarterback to boot, just like that season where Ryan Lindley was really good and we had Ronnie Hillman, I think that was meshed well. Senior year. Anyway, that was a very potent offense. Those things were
because you had the threat of the throw.
Yeah, Vincent
Hillman
Brown
was good, but I remember when Vincent Brown was good. Oh man, that was awesome.
Stop. Yeah, and then I'm drawing a blank on the other wide receiver. He's still in the NFL. The kid,
Bryce Butler.
Yes, thank you. Cowboys doing very well for the Cowboys. So that's the kind of offense you need. You have to have a quarterback that can make plays, because what do you say every week? We all say this to each other. Let the quarterback beat you, or make the quarterback when you know he's not, just like Brock Osweiler. Yeah. Let him try to beat you. Prove it to me. But they're going to load the box, and I hope Chapman can make the plays on Saturday. I really do.
Yep, I was very comfortable with the Chargers taking that against Osweiler, and if I was any defensive coordinator going up against the Aztecs, I'd be very, very comfortable saying, make Chapman beat you. If that means you have to put 9 in the box, then you put 9 in the box. But do not let anybody but Chapman beat you. If he beats you, then he beats you. Going into this game against Wyoming, Mikey, is that this weekend, by the way?
That is.
What are your thoughts? I know last I looked, the Aztecs were actually favored in Laramie.
7 points.
Man, do you? I don't know. I'm been so disappointed how they've played lately. They started so strong, and then they've just they played so poorly. Can they get it going again, or are we just going to be in for another letdown here? I know it's depressing, and I know it's mostly depressing for you. I'm not trying to kick a dead horse or kick a man while he's down here, Mikey, but I keep saying all these things, and your face is getting longer and longer as I say it. Are they going to turn it around here, or are we in for another disappointing game?
I think they're going to turn it around. I mean, it's kind of like what we talked about, my theory on second half adjustments, Wyoming knows the blueprint. Now Rocky has to do is counteract it, and it'll be something that Rocky, I believe, is going to do. I think that Jeff Horton's going to make adjustments, and they're going to figure out what went wrong against Wyoming and fix that. And from there, it'll be an in-game chess match between Craig Bowl and Rocky Long.
I hope you're right. I'm worried, though, to be honest with you. Justin, your thoughts?
I'm worried too. If that blueprint is what you're going off of, and then they've seen the Colorado State game, then I don't know what the hell you're doing. Yeah. Because that's a 30-point blowout, my friend. So I don't know, not to slight your opinion, but I don't agree. I think this is going to be one hell of a game for the Aztecs to win. Yeah. In their building, with the weather, it's going to be freezing cold up there. Probably not going to snow or anything, which is great, but it's still going to be chilly. It's going to be tough for them. It's going to be tough for them.
Mikey, let me give you a scenario here. Aztecs are down by 7 points with 20 seconds to go.
On the 10.
And they score a touchdown. Does Rocky Long go for 2 again?
Yep.
I bet he does too. Did you like that? I know you went away before we had a chance to talk about that. Did you like that call?
Loved it.
Did you?
I loved it.
I figured you would.
There was again, the rule of thumb is if you're on the road, you go for 2 for the win. You don't go to overtime, and so that's been pretty much a rule of thumb. And I know there was a lot on the line, but look at the next week after. It wouldn't matter anyways.
It didn't matter. You're right.
All that stuff would have gone away anyways. Even worse.
Yep.
So I mean, it's funny because I seen where teams don't go for 2, and I saw an article for Michigan went for 2 and they lost, and I've seen a couple teams go for 2 for the win, they lose. And then I forgot who didn't go for 2, and there's like an article. Should this team have gone for 2 in the win? It's like of course now, because they didn't and they lost. Now in retrospect, we're all like, no, they should have gone for 2.
Let me tell you something. You know how I am. You know what I like. I personally would have kicked the extra point and gone into overtime. However, there are most people out there go, look at how many people, look at this guy has the balls to go for 2 and for the win. This guy's everybody loves that until your team does it and they miss. I was fucking amazed on Twitter how many people were absolutely ripping that, talking about that's the worst call I've ever seen. Those were some of the things that I was seeing, and I'm laughing going, you are all the same idiots who get mad when they don't go for 2. You know, if he would have kicked that, and first of all, if he would have missed the extra point, everybody would have freaked out. But if they would have lost in overtime, everybody would have been, oh, you missed your opportunity already to go for 2. It's
up in arms.
Unbelievable.
Literally, these are the same people that rip Mike McCoy for being conservative.
Yes,
literally,
exactly.
Like, I see the same Twitter people.
Yes,
will rip Mike McCoy being conservative, and it's like, oh, you can't go. You need to be conservative. No, make up your mind. It's not
exactly. Which way do you want it?
Either conservative or not. And I mean, it's interesting. You know, it's interesting to see that. So it happens.
Here's the other thing that did surprise me, though. You go for 2, and it's Monday morning quarterback. It's very, very easy to second guess anything, and I understand that. But you're really going to put the ball in the hands of Chapman to, you know, when your season's on the line, you know, with the. I understand that everybody's trying to stop the run, and I even understand the fact that maybe everybody knows that you're going to run it, so you're trying to mix it up and stuff. But I don't know. I just think that I'm so down on Chapman, and you know what? Maybe that's just the way I am with Aztec quarterbacks, because I was pretty down on Maxwell Smith. For most of the year last year too, until he started playing good. Then I was all right with him. But
okay.
And I will pivot and rotate as soon as Chapman starts playing good. Yes, I'm willing to pivot. I can, you know, I'm a flip flopper, that's for sure.
You're a flip flopper.
But were you a little bit disappointed that they threw the ball on that? I know it's 3 yards, so it's not easy. But the Aztecs do have a pretty decent running game.
I wasn't disappointed they threw it, because I was the play they beat Nevada a couple years back when they went for 2. But I was disappointed that Rashad Penny wasn't in there, because I think Rashad Penny catches that ball.
Yes.
That's actually a really well thrown ball. It was thrown, you know, and I think if you have Penny there, he's a little faster. You can throw the ball out more in front of him, and you make that play.
Yeah.
So I was in the personnel, not the play call itself. Pumphrey, I mean, time after time was getting stopped at the line.
Yeah.
Or you running with Penny, who was able to pick up a couple yards every time. So I think that's something that they need to learn from and hopefully implement next time. If, you know, Rocky's listening, Rocky put in.
Well, he does listen to our show, so that's good.
Yes.
Hal has to go, by the way. He's been listening, but he does have to go. So thanks, Hal, for joining us. And
hey, sorry, Hal, I couldn't do what I told you I was going to do earlier.
You tried.
Hal, you have a very trolly weekend.
Yeah. Justin, I don't know how much we got into. I can't remember, but did you agree with the play call? I know. I can't remember. First of all, did you like the fact that they went for 2, or would you have rather they kicked it?
No, I like the fact you go for 2. I like the cojones. No, I do. I really do. I like in the NFL when you go for 2. I like going for 2 in all situations. So no, I wasn't upset. I liked it. It just shows a little brass, shows a little muster, shows a little fight, and no, I thought it was great.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem, actually. I personally, like I said, would have rather kicked it, but I didn't have a problem with them going for 2. I thought that
either
was
or,
interesting.
man.
But the play call, would you have rather seen them try and run the ball?
Yeah.
Easy to say, by the way. Easy to say right now. I get that.
You know, and that's the thing. When you're gonna get chewed apart either way. So it didn't matter. It's like I compare it to the Seattle and New England game in the Super Bowl. You know, the Seattle's throwing the football on 4th and 1, you know, or whatever it was, and it's people, you're going to get ripped apart, or you're not, and that's what it is. So you're going to get criticized.
Ultimately, I hope next week we're back here. We're talking about the Aztecs, you know, hanging, you know, beating Wyoming by 30 points, and everything's good again.
Me too.
Well, we'll have to see what happens. Moving on to basketball real quick.
Can I give you guys a quick little tidbit? I just, you know, a little bit NFL, a little bit Aztec. I don't know if you guys know who Reuben Foster is, linebacker, Alabama.
Mm-hmm. I don't.
Yep.
He's a top 10 pick this year.
Stud, yeah.
Yeah, stud. Just a quick. I don't know if you know this, Jason. About 3 years ago, he took a recruiting trip to San Diego State.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because his buddy, Christian Cumberlander, a receiver on the team, was coming over as official. And apparently, he tweeted out, "I'm going to shock the world," and he was going to commit to San Diego State, but he got talked out of it by a lot of people around him. Even including Cumberlander.
Yeah.
And
where is he, by the way?
He's down on the depth chart. He fell pretty early this year. He had some chances, and
Okay, I was going to say, did that guy ever?
yeah, he didn't pan out.
Okay.
But it's crazy to see him as a top 10 pick this year. I mean, as a beast. I mean, he's.
I remember that.
Imagine him at San Diego State. It's just so.
He would have dominated, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, him and Calvin Munson would have been a great pair. Jesus.
Oh, just a quick little story. I was looking at some information here online.
That is a good tidbit because I remember that whole scenario when he took that full trip down here and he almost picked San Diego State over Alabama, which is crazy.
That would have been. But, I wonder if that certainly would have affected his draft status, though. If he's going to be top 10 this year, it's hard to think of him coming out of San Diego State being a top 10. But who knows? Maybe he would have. Who knows? Maybe we would be playing in the Cotton Bowl this year if he was on the team.
He was the number 2 recruit in the nation, so I think it'd still be a first-round pick for sure.
Yeah. Moving on to the Aztecs basketball, they who'd they play against, Justin, again?
Savannah State from Georgia.
They played a friendly against Savannah State.
Stop it. Stop it. It wasn't 0-0, okay? Get out of here with your 0-0. And the score after 9 hours is 0-0.
I tried to watch it on TV, but I don't think it was broadcast.
It was not.
So I couldn't find it. What were your you guys were you were at the game, Justin? You were at the game too, right, Mikey?
Yes, I was.
Okay, so you guys give me your impressions of what you saw in the game. Go ahead, you first, Justin.
Well, just like I told you before the show, I thought.
Yeah, but nobody was listening before the show.
No, I know. I was. You're right. Just like we were speaking before the show. I thought, and I still think that they're still meshing together as a unit, obviously because of the injuries. I thought this was their best team effort. I know it's Savannah State, but they score a lot of points, and it was good to see them defend as well as score the basketball. And what I was most impressed with was when Strigley and Holtzel were on the court at the same time. I liked the pairing. I liked the lineups that Coach Fisher's getting acquainted with because he hasn't had that opportunity yet. So it's been nice. I liked what they did offensively.
Mikey, what were your thoughts on the game?
Well, I mean, it was a good game. I think since we missed, because of Thanksgiving the week before, I think the Cal game was amazing.
Yes. There you go.
That was our best game. And, you gained some big things. Max Holtzel, surprised to me only because, I was big on Monte Gil Caesar and not really on Holtzel. Holtzel has been a stud. He has been that great rebounder that Fisher had mentioned during the offseason. Also, Malik Pope is doing really well. So I'm back on the Pope train.
Are you?
Get on the bandwagon, boys. I'll be driving it all season long.
Does he look like the best player on the court?
I think so.
He didn't look like that on.
But it was just a friendly.
Monday. No, but I mean, like I was telling you before the show, and I'm not trying to cut him off. I'm just saying, like, he hasn't really, to me, this year asserted himself. And I know he's been hurt. He's only had a few practices. I get that, but he still doesn't look like or present. I know he presents problems, but he's not garnering the attention that you would know.
He's not scaring other teams. Nobody's scared of him.
I'm not necessarily not scared of him, but he's not acting like a first-round pick to me right now.
Okay.
That's all.
If you saw, and I really wanted to do a breakdown, but I wanted to see if he played well again, what he did to Ivan Rabb.
Yeah, Rabb.
I mean, he
shut him down.
He shot over him. He took him to the hole. Yeah. He also brought the ball across all the way, coast to coast for the and one, where he crossed off Charlie Moore. I mean, in that game, you could not tell me say that Pope was not the better prospect than Rabb. I mean, I know Rabb had better numbers because he didn't foul out with that garbage refereeing that was going that day.
Oh, that was terrible.
Yeah, but I think he is, if he plays like that, I think you're going to see that attention finally coming his way. And I know he didn't have a great stat line, but again, I think a lot of that is with, when you're blowing out a team like Savannah State, because they got, I think, like 30 early in the second half, right, Justin?
Yeah, no, they did, and that's the problem, like that team, Malik should have a field day, like these are, like, if you look around the country and you see the best teams in the ACC, the Big Ten, whatever you're looking at, you'll see, these big time players with good stats every game, no matter what, consistency every game. And for Malik, I'm not saying he's not going to have a great year. He's going to scare many, many opponents. But I don't see the consistency yet. And I know it's early. I know it's so early. But I want to see more. I want to see more aggressiveness with him. I want to see him be the big dog on the campus, be the big dog on this team, lead the team. I'm the NBA prospect here. This is my team. I'm going to take this thing over. This I want to see that, because you complement that with what Kell and Hemsley and now with Triggs and Holtzell's doing. It's a good combo. I just want to see it all come together, but I want him to be the focal point.
Hashtag focal point.
Yes.
One thing, Mikey, I said on our 200th show, and I know you had to go before we got to the Aztecs talk, and I was I don't know, I was kind of maybe trying to troll a little bit, but I was also, the more I thought about it, the more, unfortunately, it seems like it's right, and that's since the Kawhi Leonard team, and I'm not talking about it was all Kawhi Leonard. We had a lot of really good players on that team. Kawhi Leonard was good, but we had a lot of good players. Since that season, each year this Aztecs team has been a little bit worse than the year before. To me, it seems like each year we're not getting better. We keep thinking we're going to get better, and each year we're a little bit worse than the year before. And then they went out and they lost to Gonzaga, and they looked like they didn't even belong on the same court with Gonzaga. And I'm starting to worry a little bit. Is this team heading in the wrong direction? Go ahead,
No.
Mikey.
No, not at all.
No. Am I wrong? Do you agree with me that they're not quite as good as they were the year before each year, though? This year's too early, and I understand that. But if you go every year since Kawhi Leonard, it seems like they're a little bit less good each year than the year before.
I think you're just getting a different team. I don't think they're getting any worse. I mean, some teams are not as good. Obviously, last year's team was not as good as the year before.
Right, and that team wasn't as good as the year before, and that team wasn't as good as the year before.
No, but there was years where they overachieved and years when they've underachieved, and I think the 2 years where there's 2 years where they were expected to be down and they made the NCAA and won the division, and I think this year's team, the Gonzaga game was tough. I mean, missing personnel. One thing I noticed that, and I think kind of when I was when Justin was talking about Pope is Savannah State played zone the entire game, and that's why we shot 41 3-pointers.
Right.
Gonzaga, we looked terrible against the zone.
Sure.
I watched Gonzaga play. What school was it? I don't know, Prairie View or some school.
Prairie
View. Good, and they played. They won by 15-18, but they played man to man the entire game.
Yeah.
So I think, again, I don't think they're going backwards. I don't think they're digressing. I mean, that was obviously the high point. I mean, when you rank, when you top number 3 in the nation for San Diego State, that's incredible. I mean,
right.
To think, you think, 10 years before that, or you think, 10 years after that, like getting to number 3 is going to be super hard.
Sure.
Because you got the Kentuckys in the world and all these other schools. But I mean, this team, unfortunately, is not going to have a lot of opportunities to win big games. They're playing Arizona State's their marquee game next Saturday, a week from Saturday, and then you have.
They still have a shot at Utah, so.
Yeah, they still have a shot at Utah, but again, Utah is not like a top.
No, not at all. But it's a Pac-12 school with some notoriety, so I mean that's a good thing.
Yeah. So and I'm watching Jeff Grammer on Twitter, the sports writer for the Albuquerque Journal or whatever.
The fucking Lobos.
Yeah, and he's he's mentioning there's no real wins over a surefire NCAA team, including Cal. He doesn't think they're going to be a surefire team, which still
is debatable.
It's debatable, but I mean, you beat an Arizona, you're going to get a win over an NCAA team. So
right.
You didn't see that on the Aztec schedule. So this year's going to be tough. I mean, you're going to have to win those games and win them convincingly. And Savannah State was a convincing win, which I was happy to see. Like I said, we were led by 30 early. They could have done it 20-something. You know, I see Savannah State go on a run, and I was like, oh, man, they're coming back. And I'm like, oh, they're still up 22.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Well, and the thing we have to remember, though, too, like this, the key to the whole thing is don't lose to Grand Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lose to USD like we did last year.
Don't lose to ITT Technical Institute.
Exactly. Don't lose Saturday against Loyola Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do those things, and you'll put yourself in a good position. And you go 16-2 in league. You don't have any bad losses. You're fine. But that's the whole thing. You had so many last year, and I see where you're saying the whole question was they take a step back.
Yeah.
To me, no, they haven't, because even last year, you go to the NIT, and I get it's not the NCAA tournament, but you went 16-2 in league. You should have been in the tournament for one, and then you made it to the Final Four in Madison Square Garden. So, yes, disappointing, but still playoff bound, and you still had a chance to win a title. So
I'm not saying that they're a bad team.
You're just saying that digression.
I'm saying that they're going the wrong direction.
But I don't think they're going the wrong way.
They're regressing. It just
because
seems
after
to me
that Kawhi Leonard year, that was 5 straight more years of NCAA tournaments.
But not as far each year.
Well, they went to the Sweet 16 again.
Yeah, but
they went
but
twice.
Kawhi Leonard, they went grade 8. They went to Elite 8, right?
Sweet 16.
They went Sweet 16, and then the next year
they went to.
They were one and done, I think.
First round, they lost in the
first round, and then the next year was like against Oklahoma. They beat them. So I mean, they really, I mean. I think you have to remember too, Jace. It's different in basketball a little bit because there's how many 360 something teams in the NCAA, and if you're a field of 64, it's a very. I know what you're saying. You're saying it's just the expectations are here.
Yes.
And they're not meeting those expectations.
I'm not saying they're a bad team, and if we want to go back when Fisher first got here. You know, that was, I mean, we're way better than that. And I'm not saying that we're not way better than that. And I'm not saying that we're not a really good team. But what I'm saying is it's possible that I keep calling it the Kawhi Leonard team. But, you know, there were other players on the team. But that year was their peak.
Sure.
That year was the best that it's ever going to be. And I know Mikey said, you know, that they were nationally ranked 3, which you know, they got up to 3, that's going to be a tough place to get again. And I get that. But, I hope that that's not the case. Go ahead, Mikey.
Jason, and then Justin can answer afterwards. Yeah. Jason, let's say you get an Aztec team. Let's say this Aztec team. Mm-hmm. Let's say it end up being at the end of the highest ranking is 15.
Uh-huh.
But they make the Elite 8. What team's better?
This team.
This one?
Yep.
See?
Yep.
I mean, if you win 3 games in a row, and this team automatically.
That's the way it is, though. You're right, and I understand what you're saying. But like they say on Mike and Mike, the NCAA, it's probably one of the worst at figuring out who the best team in the nation is, because if you're hot during the tournament, that's all you got to do is get in and get hot. You know, it's I don't.
You agree, Justin? Sorry, you agree with
that?
Yeah.
No, I agree.
If they max out at 15, but they make the Elite 8, is this a better team than the Kawhi Leonard team?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The NCAA tournament is.
How about you, Mikey? What do you say?
Fine, man. Because logic tells me no.
Right. But it's not, right?
Results tell you yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what is does every team want to be? Any team wants to be a top 25 team. Every team wants to be in that field. They all do. And you can better believe.
That's what they're going to use for the recruiting tool. Hey, look at. They're not going to say, "Hey, look how great our regular season is." They're going to say, "Look at, we went to the Elite 8. This is an Elite 8 team." Exactly. That's what people remember.
And you get rings for that.
Nobody remembers. I didn't remember that they had peaked at number 3 that year. I just remembered they made it to the Sweet 16. Yeah. That's all I remember.
So I mean, in that way, you know, that's the peak that we met again, because we went back to the Sweet 16 after that.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And then, so, you know, you can...
Yeah, but if you get to the same level, then you can go back and you can look at other things, you know? And that's when you can look at the regular season then.
It's
if you're going to compare the two teams.
Yeah, I kind of agree with both, but I think that to make the NCAA is a... And let's put it out there. Last year, too many bad losses, but you go 16-2 in league, and that's ridiculous. You should be in the field regardless, but you didn't get in. So,
well, I mean, when you go 7-6 in non-conference, that's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. Yeah.
But that's not. I don't don't think that's going to happen this year. I don't see that happening this year.
I don't see it either. So I agree with you.
Like you said, you go 15-3 this year, and you have 2 non-conference losses. You're now sitting at 27-3. 27-5. Going.
I didn't know Grand Canyon was playing Kansas at home.
I did not know that either.
They play them a couple days.
Whenever I hear Grand Canyon, it sounds like an online university to me.
I think it is still. They're fake. But they play Kansas at their place.
Wow.
In a couple days. Look it up. It's crazy. I was looking at their schedule, and I'm like, huh? It's just weird to me, dude. Weird.
Crazy.
Yeah. Grand Canyon University Technical Institute of Agriculture and Farm Animals.
Right.
Look, yes. Ultimately, I'm hoping that I'm wrong. I want to see them, come out this year and make the. We talked about it in the preseason. We all want to see Elite Eight. That's kind of what we need to see. That we need to see them make that next step. And it's funny how you had posed that question earlier, but ultimately, Mikey, that's all we care about is what they do in the tournament. During the regular season, doesn't matter. Last year, they had a good regular season, Justin, but they didn't make the tournament.
Right. Sure.
And so I know that you try to sugarcoat it as much as you can, but I remember before the tournament started, I said, would you rather be one and done in the tournament or win the NIT? And you both said, I'd rather be one and done in the tournament.
Yep.
Because you want to make the tournament. Once we didn't and we made the NIT, now you're trying to say, well, they made it to the Final Four. That was all great and stuff. Right. But it wasn't great. It was not great because they did not make the tournament. And,
I will say this team, it's honestly, you can only look at 2 games because once they got Malik Pope and Max Holtz,
You're right.
This is a completely different team.
Completely
different.
You
have a small sample size, so we can look at Savannah State and say, we didn't play this. They played zone the whole game. We shot 41 threes.
Yada, yada, yada.
Or you can look at the Cal game and go, we dominated Cal, who has good players, who's a Pac-12 school. But then again, they're both just one game. So it's really hard to tell. But Max Hotzel and Malik Pope, I can say to you right now, made a definite difference.
Oh, easy. If you looked at two games, you would say that.
And they weren't there against Gonzaga.
And they weren't there.
Right.
Doesn't mean we would have won.
No, exactly.
Probably wouldn't have because they're a really tough team. Yeah. They're a top 5 team for a reason. But they would have made an impact for sure. Yeah. For sure.
Would have made it a game at least because it wasn't a game. So in 2 weeks they're playing against Arizona, right? You said. Arizona State. Yeah. They win or lose that game. I know we'll talk before that, but
they have a tough stretch coming up. They have a 3-game stretch. Real quick, it's Loyola, which is a pretty good team in their conference, Missouri Valley Conference. Then they have, like you said, it's Grand Canyon, ASU. So these are teams. The Grand Canyon beat us last year, and ASU is a Pac-12 school. That's going to be tough. This is a really big stretch for this Aztec team, and this is really where we're going to see what they're about. This stretch right here on the road in Chicago, road atmosphere. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
They win that ASU game, Justin?
I do. I believe so at home. I do. I really believe that. With that crowd, I think they're going to love that.
And we'll talk about it more coming up. But, Mikey, they're going to win that ASU game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very, very confident about that.
Yeah?
Yeah. Convincingly, though. There's no way they're a better team than Cal.
I don't know if you saw what Kentucky did to ASU. I'm not saying, we're Kentucky, but, they beat them by 50 or something like that.
Yeah. But ASU is not a very great team in the Pac-12 this year. So
and again, ASU's not. They're not as good as Cal. I'll tell you that.
Well,
we got a couple good, interesting games coming up for the Aztecs football and Aztecs basketball. I hope that I hope that we can reach the levels that we reached before. I hope I'm not harping on all year long that this team is moving in the wrong direction. Hopefully that's not the case. I want to thank everybody who joined us in the chat room. Mikey, thanks for staying so long, hanging on till we finally got to Aztec Talk. I appreciate that. I want to invite anybody out there who's listening. Join us Sunday morning. We're going to be talking about the Charger game, doing the pregame show. It's always a lot of fun. Sunday morning, 9 to 10. Moves real quick. We're in, we're out, and then it's football time. Invite everybody out there to join us. Mikey, Aztecs Hoops Nation. Anything going on there?
High school basketball season's starting up. So I'm going to be going out to watch Tayshaun Cherry, who's an Aztec recruit. Going to be hopefully watch Brandon McCoy, who we're in the top 5 for. I'm going to be making it out to some of these guys locally who are being recruited by the Aztecs and get some film and maybe and get some articles on them as well.
Nice. Check out SX Hoop Nation to hear about that. Go ahead, Justin.
Nothing. No, I'm just throwing up the top 2 sign.
Nice.
What Mikey said.
Once again, only 364 days until Justin's next birthday. So everybody out there in Twitterland and everybody shoot him a happy birthday. I know it's a day late, but happy birthday, buddy.
Appreciate that, guys.
Thanks. San Diego Sports Junkies, we're out.
Later, guys.
Thank you for listening to the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans by the fans. Brought to you by Cali Comfort, home of the low and slow barbecue, and SK Digital Imaging with Josh Taylor, Justin Smead, Jason Eidsmoe, and Mike Maciejewski. Subscribe to us on iHeartRadio, on Spreaker, and on iTunes. Visit SanDiegoSportsJunkies.com for all your Chargers, Padres, and Aztecs news.